Comparing yourself to other people is what is stopping you from being motivated to do the work. And what's crazy is that it's actually being kind to yourself that removes the handbrakes from your progress. In this video, I'll show you how self-compassion is the ultimate hack for productivity and how to actually use it in your life using an exercise I call the time machine. If you are to believe the stats, the average person has 6,000 or more thoughts a day, with 80% of these thoughts being negative. It's not uncommon in our society to be hard on ourselves, but it's also not a path to productivity or to success. So, how did we get here? In my opinion, our society is addicted to comparing ourselves to other people in an attempt to boost self-esteem. Self-esteem is our solidified concept of ourselves in comparison to other people. Our mind is a comparison-making machine. If you've ever used Instagram, you know what I mean. You see people showing their best selves and take stock of where you are at. The mind will compare whether we are successful enough, good-looking enough, rich enough, and onwards forever. If we win this comparison, we can update our view of ourselves to a new rigid concept we have to protect. But if we don't win the comparison, the mind will use self-criticism and judgment to try and motivate you. Our mind is well-meaning, but when it sees this gap from where we are and where we want to be, it brings out the big stick. Let me put it this way. Neither winning or losing this game of comparisons is a helpful way to be productive, and it just puts handbrakes on your progress. So how do we pursue what's important without something holding us back? If you're anything like me, you've seen people pushing this agenda for self-compassion as making excuses for not being more productive. This is what most people think of self-compassion.
Accept yourself. Love yourself.
But self-compassion comes from being kind to yourself when life happens. It's about not wasting energy or hyper-focusing on your mistakes. We build this meta skill through 3 processes. We are gentle with ourselves when we make mistakes. We understand the shared human experience and don't think it's just us going through this. We see the mind for what it is rather than trying to build our self-esteem. I'll be honest and say, it took me a long time to realize the value in self-compassion. I've often found when I made a mistake, my mind would pull out the stick and I'd allow it because it helped me get things done and set a higher standard. It's only recently that I've realized I'm more adaptive and able to actually be at a higher standard by changing the way I interact with my mind. See this video you're watching right now? I've started and stopped making YouTube videos a number of times. I would compare myself to other people on YouTube, see how far off I was in delay starting, or start and stop at the first hurdle. You're only watching this right now because I've been able to build self-compassion and start to allow the process of not being perfect play out. I still have the same standards and I still pursue them, but when things go wrong, I respect that it's hard, that all of us go through this when trying something new, and I'm gentle with myself. So how can we do things differently? If you want to learn my process for self-compassion, I've got an ebook you can purchase below. It's targeted for men. It's called How to Be a Great Mate to Yourself, Practical Self-Compassion. Either buy it for yourself or buy it for the man in your life. Let's talk about one of the exercises for self-compassion from the ebook, and it's called the time machine. What do we do when there is a lot of pain, when it becomes too much to handle? I call this tool the time machine. It can take you back in any time in history. But we have a very specific purpose when we visit a time in the past, to find a painful event or memory. But we aren't visiting the actual event. Instead, we're visiting ourselves the day after the event. You are going back to see your younger self, not to change anything, but to be that support that you needed. Right now, I want you to think of a really difficult or painful memory. Now imagine it's the day after and you are alone with yourself. Really try and imagine you are there. Imagine what you see, hear and smell. What would you say to your younger self? Would you say it hurts now? This is really hard and you don't deserve this? How would you be kind to yourself? Now what would we see you do? Would you give yourself a hug, cry together, or just be there? You are just whatever you needed at this time. You can finish this exercise by placing a hand on your chest and feeling the appreciation of your younger self to have someone who understands the pain. You can stay here with this feeling as long as you like. I use this tool once a week and flick back through a catalogue of my experiences and interact with them differently. If once you use this tool, you need to find a way to keep pursuing what's important to you, watch this video next to learn how to identify your values.